I never thought my own mother would erase me in front of everyone. The night she invited more than 50 relatives changed my life forever. I sat at the same table, but I did not exist. She praised everyone except me. She hugged everyone except me. And when someone asked who I was, my mother looked straight through me like I was air. That dinner did not just break my heart. It rewrote my future. And what I did after that shocked my entire family. My name is Emily Carter. I was born and raised in Ohio, a quiet suburban town where families smiled for neighbors and hid their truths behind closed doors. From the outside, my family looked perfect. A big house, a respected mother, a calendar full of family gatherings. But inside that house, I learned very early what it felt like to be unwanted. My mother, Linda Carter, was known in our family as the organizer, the leader, the woman who brought everyone together. She loved attention, loved praise, loved being seen as the perfect host and perfect mother. Everyone admired her. Everyone except me. I was her only daughter, but I never felt like her child. Growing up, she treated me more like a responsibility than a blessing. If I spoke too much, she would sigh. If I laughed too loud, she would glare. If I cried, she would tell me to stop embarrassing her. At school, teachers said I was polite. Friends' parents said I was respectful. Relatives said I was quiet. But my mother said I was never enough. When I was 10, she once told me during a family visit, "Why can't you be more like your cousins?" Everyone heard it. Everyone laughed awkwardly. I smiled because I did not know what else to do. As years passed, that feeling grew heavier. At birthdays, she planned grand parties, but forgot my favorite cake. At holidays, she dressed everyone beautifully, but told me not to stand too close when photos were taken. Still, I hoped. Every child hopes. I believed one day she would see me. One day she would love me loudly. That hope followed me into adulthood. I was 24 when she announced the dinner. A massive family dinner. She called it the reunion of the decade. Relatives from different states. Uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents. Even people I barely remembered. She talked about it for weeks. Posting on social media. Planning menus. Hiring decorators. The house transformed into something straight out of a magazine. She never asked me to help. Never asked my opinion. Never asked what I would wear. I was simply there. The day arrived. Cars filled the driveway. Laughter echoed through the halls. Perfume, food, and voices blended into chaos. I stood near the staircase watching. My mother moved like a queen, greeting everyone, hugging, laughing, introducing, showing off. "This is my son Michael," she said proudly. "This is my niece Sarah," she added warmly. "This is my cousin from Texas," she announced. And I waited. I waited for my name. I waited for her hand on my shoulder. I waited for a single acknowledgement. It never came. I followed her into the dining room. A long table stretched across the space. More than 50 people seated. She directed everyone where to sit. I stood there unsure. She pointed to an empty chair at the far end. Without looking at me, "Sit there." Dinner began. Plates clinked. Glasses raised. Stories shared. My mother stood up to give a speech. She thanked everyone. She praised family unity. She spoke about love and togetherness. She thanked her sons. She thanked her siblings. She thanked distant relatives. She never mentioned me. Halfway through dinner, a distant aunt leaned toward my mother. She asked softly, "Who is that girl sitting alone?" My mother replied loudly enough for others to hear, "Oh, she is just here. Just here. Not my daughter. Not Emily. Just here." I felt something collapse inside my chest. My face burned. My hands shook. But I stayed seated. I watched her laugh. I watched her shine. I watched her erase me. That night I understood something clearly. This was not accidental. This was not forgetfulness. This was intentional. And that realization changed everything. I stayed in that chair long after dessert was served. People laughed louder as wine glasses emptied. Conversations overlapped. No one looked in my direction. I told myself not to cry. I told myself I was stronger than this. But strength feels very small when you realize your own mother does not want you seen. When dinner finally ended, people hugged her. They praised her hospitality. They thanked her for the beautiful night. She smiled and accepted every compliment. I helped clear plates silently. I carried trays to the kitchen. She walked past me without a word. Later that night, after the last car left, after the house returned to silence, I stood in the kitchen holding a damp towel. My mother sat at the table scrolling through her phone, posting photos, reading comments, smiling. I asked her why. My voice barely worked. She looked up annoyed. Why what? Why did you ignore me? Why did you pretend I did not exist? She stared at me for a long moment. Then she said something that cut deeper than shouting ever could. Because attention is limited. And tonight was not about you. I waited for her to say more. To apologize. To soften it. She did not. She told me I was too sensitive. She said I embarrassed her by sitting quietly. She said people might think something was wrong with me. I realized then that she did not feel guilty. She felt justified. That night I did not sleep. I replayed every memory, every small dismissal, every ignored achievement, every comparison. I remembered when I graduated college and she left early. When I got my first job and she told relatives it was temporary. When I won an award and she changed the subject. I had spent my whole life chasing approval from someone who benefited from withholding it. The next morning the house felt empty. Decorations still hung. But warmth was gone. Packed a bag. Not dramatically. Not angrily. Quietly. When she noticed, she asked where I was going. I said I needed space. She rolled her eyes. She said, "Do not be dramatic." I left anyway. I drove to my friend Rachel's place. She lived 2 hours away. She opened the door and hugged me without asking questions. That hug broke something open inside me. I stayed there for weeks. I slept. I cried. I talked. I finally said things out loud. Rachel helped me see patterns I had normalized. Helped me name emotional neglect. Helped me understand that love should not feel like performance. During that time my mother did not call. She did not text. She did not ask if I was okay. She posted photos from the dinner all week, captioned with words like blessed and family first. Something hardened inside me. I stopped waiting. I found a small apartment. I started therapy. I focused on work. I worked harder than I ever had. Not to prove anything, but to build something that was mine. Months passed. Then a year. My mother only contacted me when relatives asked about me. She wanted updates she could repeat. She wanted achievements she could claim. I kept responses short. Then something unexpected happened. Because for the first time, I chose myself. And my life started to change in ways she could never control. Choosing myself felt unfamiliar. Almost dangerous. I had been trained my entire life to measure my worth by her reactions. Without that mirror I felt lost at first. Therapy helped me untangle that fear. I learned that love does not compete. Love does not erase. Love does not require invisibility. I threw myself into my career. I worked at a marketing firm in Columbus. Long hours. Late nights. Quiet victories. I stopped posting my life online. I stopped sharing updates with relatives who reported back to her. I learned privacy could be power. 2 years passed. During that time my mother maintained her image. Holiday posts. Family dinners. Smiling captions. But cracks began to show. Relatives started inviting me directly. They stopped going through her. They asked my opinion. They listened when I spoke. At one Thanksgiving hosted by my aunt, my mother arrived late. She expected the usual attention. But it never came. People were already engaged. Already laughing. Already asking me about my job, my apartment, my travels. I watched confusion cross her face. She tried to redirect conversations. Tried to center herself. Did not work. For the first time she was not the focal point. She pulled me aside in the kitchen. She whispered sharply, "What did you tell them?" I told her the truth. Nothing. That night she left early. A week later she called me crying. She said she felt forgotten. She said family dynamics were changing. She said she did not understand why. I listened quietly. Then I said something I had never said before. "This is how I felt my entire life." Silence followed. She hung up. Months later I was promoted. A big role. A big raise. Relatives congratulated me. They celebrated openly. My mother posted about my success, using words like proud and blessed. She tagged herself. I commented one sentence. Thank you. No emojis. No explanations. People noticed. Messages came in asking if everything was okay between us. I did not lie. I did not overshare. I said we are learning. That answer unsettled her more than anger ever could. She started showing up unannounced. At my apartment. At my workplace events. She wanted proximity. She wanted relevance. I maintained boundaries. Calm ones. I did not argue. I did not explain repeatedly. That restraint frustrated her. Then came the call that changed everything. She was hosting another large dinner. Bigger than before. She said she wanted me there. She said she wanted to fix things. I asked what that meant. She said, "We will talk when you get here." I felt the old pull. The hope. But I had learned something important. Reconciliation without accountability is just another performance. I told her I would come only if she acknowledged what she had done. Publicly. She laughed nervously. She said families do not do that. I said then neither do I. I declined again. That refusal triggered something in her. She sent long messages. Accusing. Defensive. Rewriting history. I did not engage. And then the unthinkable happened. That dinner. She tried to explain my absence. She said I was ungrateful. She said I had changed. She said success had gone to my head. But this time, people questioned her. They asked why she never spoke about me before. They asked why she ignored me at the last dinner. They asked why I never seemed comfortable around her. She could not control the narrative anymore. That night, my phone filled with messages. People apologized. People expressed regret. People thanked me for my strength. I sat alone in my apartment, reading them, realizing something profound. Silence had exposed more truth than confrontation ever did. And that truth was about to come back to her in a way she never expected. The shift became impossible to ignore after that night. Family conversations changed tone. People started speaking honestly. Stories were shared quietly at first, then openly. An aunt admitted she always felt something was off. A cousin said she remembered how I was never included in photos. An uncle said he once asked my mother why she treated me differently and was brushed off. These confessions did not make me angry. They made me calm. Because clarity replaces chaos. My mother, however, was unraveling. She called more often. Her voice less controlled. Her words less polished. She said she felt attacked. She said the family was turning against her. She said I had poisoned them. I told her I had done nothing. And that was the truth. She asked me to meet her privately. Just us. I agreed. Not out of obligation, but curiosity. We met at a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. She arrived early. She looked tired. For the first time I saw her without an audience. She tried to start with small talk. I did not engage. She finally said, "I did the best I could." I asked her calmly, "Why did you ignore me?" She said she did not remember it that way. She said I was always sensitive. She said I wanted too much. I took a breath. And I told her exactly how it felt. Growing up invisible. Being publicly dismissed. Being erased at her dinners. She listened. But she did not soften. Instead she said something revealing. "You took my spotlight." That was the moment. The final confirmation. It was never about me being difficult. It was about competition. I stood up. I told her I loved her. But I would not compete for space in my own life. I left. After that meeting, I stopped initiating contact. Weeks passed. Then months. Family members continued to reach out. They invited me. They supported me. I accepted selectively, protecting my peace. Then something unexpected happened. My mother stopped being invited to events. Not intentionally, but naturally. People felt uncomfortable. Conversations stalled around her. Her presence carried tension. She called me furious. She blamed me again. I told her something I never thought I would say. This is what happens when truth catches up. That silence lasted nearly a year. During that year, I built a life I loved. I traveled. I dated. I laughed freely. I stopped shrinking. Then one afternoon, I received a message from her. Not angry. Not defensive. Simply said, "I miss you." I stared at the screen for a long time. I asked one question. "Do you understand why I left?" There was a long pause. Then she replied, "I am starting to." That response felt different. Not perfect. Not complete. But real. We agreed to meet again. With one condition. Honesty. When we sat down this time, she did not justify. She did not deflect. She admitted she needed control. She admitted she feared being overshadowed. She admitted she failed me. She cried. Quietly. I did not rush to comfort her. I let the truth breathe. I told her forgiveness would take time, and effort, and consistency. She nodded. For the first time. She did not argue. That was not the end, but it was the beginning. And the final chapter of this story would prove that sometimes being ignored is what leads you to finally be seen. Rebuilding trust is slower than breaking it. I learned that in the months that followed. My mother tried. Not perfectly, but consistently. She checked in without demanding. She listened without interrupting. She asked questions she had never asked before. I stayed cautious. Hope can be dangerous when it arrives too fast. Family gatherings felt different now. Smaller. Quieter. More real. At the first dinner I attended after everything, she hesitated before speaking. Then she placed her hand gently on my back and said, "My daughter Emily is here." The room went still. Not awkward. Intent. Something released inside my chest. She did not make a speech. She did not perform. She simply included me. After that night she did not post photos. She did not seek applause. She stayed present. Our relationship did not become perfect, but it became honest. She apologized again privately, without conditions. I accepted slowly, on my own terms. What changed the most was not her. It was me. I no longer needed validation from anyone who could not offer respect. I learned that silence can be strength, boundaries can be love, and walking away can be the bravest form of self-respect. People often ask me if I regret leaving, if I regret distancing myself. I never do, because losing myself to be included would have been the real loss. That dinner where I was ignored, it felt like the worst night of my life, but it forced me to see the truth, and the truth set me free. Now when I sit at a table, I take up space. I speak. I am seen. And if I am ever made to feel invisible again, I know how to leave. Not quietly, but confidently, because I am no longer just here, I am home.